Hi all, this is a re-recording of our dashboard webinar. I'm going to go over some ways to use dashboards to create far more in-depth and flexible reporting for different industries and types of work. Then I'll deconstruct how I've set up a range of widgets so you can see how it's done and adapt them to your own needs when setting up your own dashboards. Currently, dashboards are in beta, which means they're still under development. It's open so anyone can access the widgets available to their plan, but there's still lots of bug fixing and improvements going on. As we walk through today, we may see some bugs. There are several we know about and the team is busy fixing them. If you do come across bugs while using dashboards though, please do report them. The beta phase is all about getting as much feedback as possible so we can make sure everything is working perfectly when they're done. Now to get to your dashboard, we can simply click on this dashboard icon here from anywhere in ClickUp. Dashboards have widgets. These are these square boxes. These are movable, resizable blocks that show different things. They're also on a grid, so they will snap to the nearest grid size. Dashboards are available on most of our plans. For enterprise and business, we have a large availability of widgets. If you are on an unlimited plan, dashboards are also for you, and we have certain widgets as well as templates that are set up ready for you to use. If you're on the free forever plan, you will be able to use dashboards for a little bit just to get a bit of a taste, but they're not an ongoing feature of the free forever plan. Anyone who is a member of your workspace will be able to access dashboards. Guests can also have dashboards shared with them, so they cannot create them themselves and they'll only have view-only permission, but if you do want to share a dashboard with a guest, that is possible. Dashboards start out as private to just you, and then you can share them with other people as needed. You can also refresh the data on a dashboard manually here. Otherwise, it'll update on a regular cadence. Now, this is actually our first use case, and shout out to our user Ashley who sent this one in. It's a fantastic use. It's a client portal. So here we have a video. Now, in this case, I've just pulled up the ClickUp dashboard video from YouTube. However, you could embed a video perhaps showing a client how to use this dashboard, how to use ClickUp in general, or maybe how to interact with your work and your system. On the right here, we have a text introduction as well as some tasks that the client needs to tick off as they move through. Down the bottom here, we've got a chat widget so that they can communicate with us with specific questions. On the right, we have a task widget to see a range of tasks. Now, these could be tasks that we're doing for them and they want to keep a track of, or it could be homework tasks that they need to do for us to allow their work to get done. So perhaps this is for a marketing agency and they work with a lot of clients. So they might need to communicate about the campaigns that are going out and also request information from the client. So here, this video might be to do with maybe using ClickUp and also their particular individual process and workflow. And then here we might have information to welcome them and make sure they're sending through the basic details that the company needs. Questions might be for edits and proofing of the various creatives. And then we might have tasks that are, perhaps we could even have two task widgets here, one that is for the campaigns and then one that is for tasks that the client needs to do to give some grounding on what kind of advertising they would like, what kind of creatives they're looking for. Next up, we have client management. So this is the back end of working with clients. So what I've got set up here is a portfolio widget, so we can see a quick overview of folders and lists. Here I have two folders called Client 1 and Client 2. We can see what statuses all the tasks are in, how far through the tasks we are, and how many are overdue. We can also add some extra columns here. For example, you might use time estimates or time remaining. Next up is overall urgency. So this is a pie chart breaking down all the tasks by what priority they are. So here we have 7 that are low, 7 that are normal, 10 that are high priority, and 3 that are urgent. This allows me to get a quick idea of how busy things are and what the kind of red alert level is at. Next up, I've separated my dashboard into two sides. I've got client 1 and client 2. Now, if you do have lots more clients, you could put them at the bottom, or if you had lots of clients that you're doing small jobs for, you might tend more towards graphs and things that can display information from multiple clients all at once. But because I only have 2 clients, I quite like this setup. So this is actually a note field that allows me to put the name in, and I've actually got some notes related to these clients. So for example, client 2 prefers to be updated via PDF. Here I've got some widgets that are calculation widgets, and these pull together information from a range of tasks. So this one is telling me how much time was tracked in relation to client 1 and how many remaining tasks I have. Then I have the same thing for client 2. Below that, I have a task widget that shows me all the upcoming tasks for this client. Below these, I have a chat widget. Now this one is internal because in here, in the client portal, we were talking to the client, but here we're just talking amongst our team. So perhaps we need to discuss the work that needs to be done for client 1. I've also got a quote calculator here, and it's embedding a Google Sheet. So here I can quickly put some inputs in case I need to communicate with the client about a new quote for maybe some increased scope. Next up, we've got project management. So there are lots of ways of doing project management and lots of different industries. Basically, the idea here is you've got a set number of tasks that need to be done to complete a project, and you want to check that they are getting done at a reasonable rate and what the current status is. I've got my overall completion, and this is for the entire project, all the tasks and what status they're in. Then I've broken it down to the different deliverables. Now, based on your setup, you might have more or less deliverables or a different way of breaking it down, but this is a really nice graphical way to see where it's at from a high level. Next up, we have the status progress. So this is over time. So we can see the days here, and we can see the colors have changed over time. So at the very beginning, this blue section is to do. So most of our tasks were to do at the beginning of the 10th of February. Then over time, some tasks changed into the ready status. So now we have less tasks that are in to do, more tasks that are in ready, in progress and completed, but the same total number of tasks. So these are stacked. So the very top line will always show the total number of tasks. However, the consistency of the tasks has changed. So now we have more complete, in progress, and ready. As time goes on, these lines will continue to get bigger and bigger, and the to-do items will get smaller and smaller until everything is in this final closed status. Now this can be very helpful because we would expect it to flow quite smoothly. However, if we're finding that it's not smooth, perhaps this kind of teal ready status gets very fat, but no tasks are moving into complete. That would indicate that we have a bottleneck, that we're good at getting things up to the ready stage, but something's stopping it from going from ready to complete. So that's something to look out for in these types of graphs. We do have a legend here at the bottom, and if we did want to remove data, we could simply unselect it in our legend. Here we can see just the to-do items over time. Next up, we have some metrics, and these are for tasks done. This one is last month and this month. So we can see this month, we've really kicked in and we've got more tasks done. Then we have a time estimated table. So this will show us a line for each person. And if we were to click on them, the tasks that make up their information. So we have time estimated of 10 hours each, and then time tracked, and then based on that, the time remaining. So we can see on this task, it was estimated at 10 hours. So far, we have used up 6 of those hours, and we have 4 hours remaining if we are to stay on track. If we were to go over time, so let's open this task, and let's say we've tracked an extra 6 hours, it will turn red. Now this is a good time to point out that all of these graphs update at a certain time, so we can simply force them to update here. And now we can see that we have 12 hours tracked, which is too much. Now we've actually updated both of these at the same time because both these people were assigned to the same task. So it's pulling for both of them. Next we have at-risk tasks. This is a task widget, and it's simply pulling a list of tasks with a certain filter, and the filter here is overdue, as we can see. We could also sort these if we wanted. Let's put the most overdue at the top. Next up, we have a tasks by assignee widget, and this simply shows the breakdown of tasks between the different assignees. So here we can see Shane has the lion's share of the work. And then lastly, we have a portfolio widget once again. So here, I've used it to show the different deliverables and sub-deliverables in these projects. So we see for each folder, we have our statuses and our progress, And then we can break that down into here 4 deliverables for, 4 parts for deliverable 1 and 4 parts for deliverable 2. Again, we can add extra columns if wished. Next up, let's have a look at sales. For a sales organization, perhaps like us, you're selling software and you want to check that the pipelines are healthy, that you have new prospects coming in and they're progressing through the stages of your sales process well, and that also your total figures are looking good. You may also want to check on the efficiency of your team, make sure everyone is doing a good job and no one's struggling at any particular stage. So for example, maybe clients come in as prospects and they go through a series of steps and then eventually the deal is either won or lost. So first of all, we're calculating a metric for the number of sales this month. Then we have sales last month, the average deal size, and then upcoming meetings. Here we've got a graph of sales, and this is a cumulative over time. So it will keep going up, and we can see how steep it is. Then we have our sales flow, very similar. Prospects will come in at the top here, and then filter down through each of the stages until eventually they become part of the green 1 section. Now we have pipeline size by stage. So we can see how much of our deal size currency custom field is in each stage, and we're also dividing it between assignees. Next up, we have a chat widget, and in this case we're using it for process improvements. So if we identify issues or ways of improving to get this sales pipeline working better, this is a good place to talk about it, particularly in context with our reporting. This has all the features of a conversation view, so we can mention someone, mention a task, use emojis, /commands, and even record the screen, as well as attaching files. Once again, we've got a task widget here, and in this case, sales are deals, so I'm showing all the biggest deals organized by deal size. Then we have a breakdown of success, so we can see out of all the tasks, how many of them are in won status compared to cold or lost. Then we're seeing that breakdown of only closed ones by sales rep. So we can see Willow has sold 18% of all of our deals, Shane 27%, and Justin 54%. Okay, next up is business management. Business management is super wide and there's a million things that need to be reported on and tracked in a business. So here I've just got some ideas. Every business has their inflow of customers, their process of getting the work done, and then various other things such as HR, managing how people are going and making sure the business financials are good. So quite a bit of that could be done in a dashboard like this. So here we've got an overall current state, and this is just a quick look at everything, how things are going, how many tasks we have in each status. Then we have our urgency pie chart, so we can see what the kind of urgency state of the business is. And then our task division, so who's assigned how many tasks. Here is a bar chart of the tags that are in use. Now, depending on what you use tags for, this could be very useful to categorize tasks or items, whatever you're using tasks for. In this case, we've got tags from a range of different spaces, so we can simply see what tags are being used a lot and which ones could perhaps be deleted. We've got a sales pipeline flow, just to see the sales for this business, and then our overdue tasks to bring them to the manager's attention. Then we have a couple of interesting dashboards. Now, we've got here Q1 goals, and this is one that was suggested by our VP of Operations. And he uses this to keep an overview of different goals, updating it regularly, but also just keeping on track for each one and making sure that they're all progressing so he can easily switch between different focus areas. So here we can see we've got the hiring pipeline, making sure that's kind of progressing well. Then we've got a focus area, which is customer experience. We've got a task widget, which is showing the improvement tasks that need done. These, by the way, is a text widget, so we can simply add text here, and we can also do things like mention tasks and use /commands. Then we've got some goals that we want to keep track of and see how we're going. So he would come back to this several times a day and just add what the next steps are, what's happening, if there are any concerns, etc., etc. Some other ideas are marketing and growth, employee onboarding, and customer service updates. Then we have our CEO's favorite dashboard, which is the brain dump. So in this case, in his case, he uses it for product development and product ideas. particularly where there are lots of conflicting requests and requirements and things that need to cover. We need to coalesce that all into one finalized idea. So you could do this on a document, you could just take notes, but it can be very handy to have these separate boxes. So you can put down ideas in the relevant box and then start to see how they fit together and merge them. So we started out with 3 text widgets side by side here with different perspectives. And then as kind of information gets bigger, you may prefer to have 2 side by side and then just expand them as needed. Okay, now let's have a look at how I've set up some of these widgets. So jumping back to our client portal, anywhere you can create a new widget by hitting the Add Widget button up in the top right-hand corner here. We can select a range of widgets, and we have lots of different types to choose from. The custom widgets at the top here are very flexible. Sprint widgets show information over time about the completion of projects. Statuses, tags, assignees, and priorities are templates. They're based off pi, battery, line, bar, or calculation widgets, and they allow you to do a certain thing. In this example, you can track the number of tasks that are in progress. Tables include all of our reporting functions and also the task list widget. And embed allows you to embed various things. So here I've actually got an embed that is just a video. So I put in the HTML iframe for this particular YouTube video. For my chat widget here, it's very, very simple. I've simply created it, given it a name, and typed the text in. Note that you can also type the text in directly from the dashboard. You don't have to do it in the settings. And I've used / commands to create some checkboxes, which can be ticked off. My chat widget here is again very simple. You simply create it and give it a name. For my tasks, this is slightly more complex. So here I'll give it a name and also choose where we want to pull data from. So here we can expand our spaces and folders, and we can choose any number of locations. So perhaps I could choose this list and also this whole folder and this whole space. But for now, I'm just going to choose these 2 lists here. Next, we can choose what to group it by, and this is simply to create these chunks, same as in list view. For now, I'm going to choose none. At the moment, I've got it grouped by status. You can also include subtasks, archive tasks, and show the breadcrumbs, which is the list and folder that a task is in. Lastly, we can create filters. I haven't done that here. For my client management space, my portfolio widget is quite simple. I've simply chosen certain folders to add. You can also add lists and choose whether you're including subtasks and archive tasks. For my pie graph here, I've given it a name, chosen the location, grouped it by priority, which is what is creating the different colored sections, and left it on all priorities. So it's pulling in all of them. The value, which is how big to make each section, is based on tasks. I could change that instead to be time estimates, so that if I have one task with a really large time estimate, it would make each section larger, and the other sections would be equivalent to their time estimate as a percentage of the whole. You can also use various custom fields that have numeric values. And here I've chosen to display it as a percentage. Again, we have text widgets. For our metric widget, we've chosen a name, a location, and a field. This is very similar. This is the numeric value that's going to be calculated. Note that we also have time spent as an available option here. I've chosen time spent. I'm summing it, giving us the total, and I'm including subtasks. For my task metric, I'm simply pulling in task count instead, and I'm using a custom unit that is tasks. And I'm choosing to display this on the right. Here I have it also filtered to only show certain statuses. So these are the statuses that are active. I don't want to show any done or closed tasks. And that is what creates the remaining task function. Here I have my 2 upcoming task lists. These are simply pulled in from the right location and filtered to show only in the next 7 days and only where it's overdue, or where it's overdue. I am using the OR function here. So these are important ones that are coming up now or need to be done. My embed widget here is exactly the same as the video one. I'm simply using a URL from Google Sheets. For project management, my battery charts here, very similar to pie charts, choosing a name, location, grouping it by statuses, including all statuses, using tasks as the value, and including subtasks and displaying as a percentage. Here, my metrics are what you'd see previously. We've got different locations. The field is simply the task count, and I'm filtering it to only show where the date closed is last month. Similarly for this one, I'm filtering it to show where the date closed is this month. For our time estimated table, it's very simple. It simply requires a name and the location it's pulling from. Here I've got no filters or other settings set. For sales, let's have a look at a line chart. So here I've got the name, the location I'm pulling data from, and I've got a time range. Now I've chosen a specific time range of the 8th of February to the 16th of February because it's relevant to what I'm reporting on. For the y-axis, instead of being a task count, I'm using the deal size currency custom field. And that's what gives me the total value as money rather than number of tasks. I'm currently grouping it by none because I just want to see the total, so one singular line, rather than dividing it up into separate lines. If I was doing separate lines, I could also stack them on top of each other, but I'm not doing that here. For my sales flow, this one is actually a cumulative flow sprint chart. So it's a little bit different. It uses the name. The source can either be lists or just everything with a certain custom field value, either drop-downs or labels. But I'm not doing that here. Here I'm just using a list. Again, we have a time range, and here I'm using the total number of tasks. And so that pulls in all of those tasks, shows us what status it's in, and how it moves over time. Note that I could choose to group these by status type. So instead of having all the different colors, I have a simplified graph with just 3 colors: done, in progress, and not started. For my pipeline size by stage, here I'm showing quite a lot of information, and that's possible with bar charts. So in my settings, I have my name and my location. For the x-axis, which is the bottom here, which gives us what the columns are for, I've chosen my statuses. And these are statuses in my sales location, so they are the stages of my sales pipeline, and I'm choosing to show all of them. For my y-axis, which shows the size of each column, I'm choosing my deal size, so I'm seeing the amount of money. And then I'm grouping it by assignee, and that's what creates these different color bands. So within each bar, we can group it by something to divide it up by an extra metric. Then I'm just including subtasks, which could show an average here, which would simply give us a line across the middle to say that the average of each stage is 77,000. But here, that's not too relevant to me, so I'll turn that off. We've covered the task widgets and pie charts. Let's have a look at business. So again, we have a bar chart here, pie charts, line charts, and task widgets. And in Q1, we only have the text widgets here, and then also task widgets, which is what's creating all of these. Okay, a few extra things I'd love to point out. Data for these timeline charts is a separate way of reporting. So we've started recording that as of the 24th of January, 2020. So the data that will be available to you will be the later of that date or 2 weeks before you upgrade to business. If you are on the unlimited plan, we aren't storing all of your historical data because that would be too much. So once you upgrade to business, anything that's currently being stored, which is the last 2 weeks, will be available, and then it will start recording from then on. If you do want to export graphs, that is possible. In our 3 dots here, along with settings, we can also export in PDF, PNG, JPEG, SVG, or CSV formats. Next, we have legends. Let's put it on a more interesting one. Let's put legends on this chart, and that simply shows us what each of the colors are for. One extra thing this allows us to do is we can click on them to turn that data off if we only wanted to see one person or compare certain ones. If you do want to create several similar graphs, perhaps just with different filters to create quick comparisons, you can duplicate widgets here as well, which can be very handy. And lastly, if you do have a notes widget, let's go into this brain dump, you can access a history. So you can see how it has changed over time, and if you need to revert to any of those versions, you can do so here. All right, that covers what we have for dashboards for today. If you do have any questions, please do let us know. We're always available in the help icon here and chat, or at help@clickup.com. All right, have a great day.